Attention, please. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. Bass in your face. Bass in your face.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negro. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with the channel or watching this channel for the first time, the reason why it is called Uncommon Sense because here we discuss everyday issues where we try to find logical solutions. But not everyone uses logic, so for that reason it is called Uncommon Sense. I also have another YouTube channel called Latina Diaspora when I discuss issues pertaining to Latinos in the United States. The link to that channel is in the description. I want to let everybody know that I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and the subscriber mode has been enabled for the first 5 minutes. Meaning, if you're not a subscriber, and if you wish to enter a comment in the chat, you have to have been a subscriber for at least 5 minutes into the stream. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to all those who've already subscribed to the channel, whether you've been a supporter from the very beginning or just recently joined. I really appreciate your love and your support. I also want to give a huge shout out to all those who follow me on social media, as well as those who allow me to enter into your devices and those who watch from the clouds, even the haters. So, what I'm going to ask you to do if you have not done so, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, and set the bell notifications to all. So, therefore, whenever I do produce content, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on the playback. So, the topic for tonight's stream is Your Life Has Meaning. Now, basically, I'm going to be discussing a topic which I have addressed before, but I need to continue to address it, is unfortunately self-deletion. So I'm going to discuss why some of the causes, plus I'm going to give you some resources in the event that if you know anyone who is having these thoughts or you yourself is having these thoughts, to please share this information. And due to the serious nature of this topic, I do give my full consent to share it, okay? Because I do believe the information I'm going to share with you is extremely important. Now, before we get into the main topic, we're going to have another episode of In My Words. Now, last week I shared with the audience regarding the latest scam that the infamous Dr. Umar Johnson is trying to perpetrate. He calls himself the Prince of Pan Africanism. To me, he's the Prince of Panhandling. Okay, so I had stated that now he's off. Okay, he's asking women, particularly African American women, to give him $500, and that he would treat them to a meal at their choice anywhere within the area of Wilmington, Delaware. Apparently, he's gotten a lot of flack because of that. So recently, he quote unquote tried to clarify this scheme. Now, I saw the video and I saw him trying to um, justify his rhetoric. The problem was, first of all, he contradicted himself. At the beginning, um, he stated that this was not a date, that this was a reality show where African American women will have the opportunity um, to get free press as pertaining to whatever business or product that they are selling. Then during the process, he's talking about, well, these dates might occur um, not only in Wellington, Delaware, but also in the Philadelphia area and also in the state of New Jersey. Then he contradicted himself, saying, well, it may be done outside. And he started talking about basically naming just about every conceivable country and city in the world where women can so called pay $500 for this free lunch. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not a free lunch. If you look, if you are giving $500, okay, for the opportunity of having a meal with Dr. Umar Johnson, that's not a free lunch. That's a paid lunch. Okay. And then towards the video, it gets a little bit more shady. First of all, he talked about, well, you can be a single lady or you could be a married lady. Okay. Then he started talking about slow dancing. Now, with all due respect, if this is not a real date, okay, my question is, why is there slow dancing involved? Okay. Yeah. Why? And you're talking about doing it in candlelight. I don't know about you, but when I think of candlelight, I think it more like a romantic setting. And then to make it more sinister, first of all, the women would not be given the address of where they would go. So basically, a driver would pick up these ladies and then take them to a destination in which they don't know about. And then to add insult to injury, they have to surrender their mobile devices to Dr. Umar Johnson, supposedly so they don't get disturbed. Okay. Do you know how risky that is? That you're going to go on an encounter with someone that you don't know to a place you don't know, and then you're going to surrender your mobile device. Meaning, if God forbid, if Dr. Umar Johnson tried to do anything not kosher, that means you cannot call 911. Okay. And then you're talking about asking a married woman to meet up with you. I don't know about you men. I would not allow my wife, if I had a wife, to meet up with this character under these circumstances. And then, just to make it more crazy, talking about, well, if you are a chef, you can cook. Okay. You can cook for Dr. Umar Johnson and a female companion of his choice. Good evening, April Showers. Thank you very much for stopping by. So yeah, I mean, think about it. You're gonna go and pay $500 to Dr. Umar Johnson for the privilege of having a date with this person at a destination you don't know, and then you have to surrender your cell phone device to this person. Meaning, if God forbid he tries anything like SA, you cannot call 911. And then to add further insult, if you are a dark skinned Latina, you have to identify as a as an African person, as an African female. Yeah. Um, April, there's even more. There's even more to that. Think about it. You have to pay this person $500 to eat a meal with this individual at a destination you do not know. And then you have to surrender your cell phone, which means if he tries to ask at you cannot dial 911 to get help. And then to add further insult to injury, if you are a dark skinned Latina, you have to identify as black. Now, those of you who know anything about Latinos, we are a mixture of three different cultures. Part of our culture comes from Africa, yes. Part of our culture comes from the indigenous people, and part of our culture comes from Spain. So basically, you to go out on this so-called dinner date, whatever, you got to deny your Latino roots. You got to deny your indigenous roots. Uh, and then talking about, well, you cannot have fake boobs, fake butt. You cannot have a weave. Okay, and this is all to protect African American women. This is coming from the dude that has two baby daddies, two baby mamas, of which he's not paying child support. Make that make sense, folks. Make that make sense. But you know, Ringling Brothers had a saying, a sucker is born every moment. And I got news for you. This is not the first time that he tried to put this scam. He done it before. And you know what's the sad part about it? There's going to be African American women are going to pay $500 for the privilege of having a dinner date and slow dance. But yet, at one point, it's a reality TV show, and then it's a date. Okay. I guess he must think that African American women are gullible, are stupid, are insane. So all I can say, the saying, a fool and his money are soon separated. And this is a person talking about that he's building a school for black boys. And he's been fundraising for 15 years and still no school. Need I say more? And one more thing that I wish to discuss is today is Irby Fatale's birthday. I don't know his age, but I just want to say happy birthday, Irby. May the good Lord give you many years of health and wealth. And I really appreciate you very much. Now, after now, with that being said, we're going to get into the main topic. Now, I want to state for the record that the link to join the panel has been pinned. Should anyone wishes to hit that link and opine regarding the topic in hand, they may do so. As always, if I've never seen you before, if I never heard from you before, I will insist that you come up in the backstage to make sure that no one tries to flash anything inappropriate, particularly when it comes to genitalia, which would cause the people of YouTube to take down their stream. Now, once I see that you're not going to do all that and that you're going to abide by my rules and regulations satisfied on this platform, you will be allowed to enter the panel. Okay, whether you come up or not, that's totally up to you. Now, when it comes to self deletion, it is a serious topic. It is a serious mental illness. So, one thing. So I'm gonna state a disclaimer. First of all, if anyone is thinking about self deletion, don't. Okay. I mean, no matter what is going on in your life, there is an escape. There is a solution to the problems that you face. Let me just briefly state that in Spanish. Yo voy a pedir que por favor no contempla quitando la vida. No importa qué está pasando en su vida, hay una solución. No importa el problema que está enfrentando. Por favor, así que ayuda de parte de un terapista, así que ayuda de parte de sus familiares, sus seres queridos. Porque cuando tú tomas la decisión de quitarle la vida, entonces ¿qué pasa? Es que tú tienes muchas heridas con tus seres queridos. Por el amor de Dios, tú vales más. No quita tu vida. So, with that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a moment. So just give me a moment until the images does get loaded. Okay. Now, this came from the American Psychiatric Association website. Now, I'm not going to be using the actual term that's stated here. I'm going to use self deletion because I don't want to violate the community guidelines. So let me just share some information. Self deletion is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. It is the second leading cause of death for people aged 10 to 34. The highest rate of self-deletion occurs in persons 75 years of age or older. The impact of self-deletion in communities makes self-deletions a serious public health problem. In 2022 in the US, more than 49,000 people died by self-deletion, and there's an estimated 1.7 million people attempted self-deletion. According to the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, this one death is by deletion every 11 minutes. Men were more than 3 times likely than women to take their lives. Firearms are the most common method of self-deletion, used in about half of all self-deletions. Yet self-deletion is preventable. Knowing the risk factors and recognizing the warning signs for self-deletion can help prevent self-deletion. And the first source I'm going to give you is the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you know anyone that needs support, please call 988, call or text or chat at 988lifeline.org. That's one source that you can call or text any time of the day or the evening. If you are thinking about deleting yourself, or if you know someone that's thinking about self deletion, please share this information. Let me just repeat it. Si conocen a alguien que está contemplando quitarle la vida, por favor, pase esa información al 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Favor a marcar o textear 988. Se puede llamar o textear este número cualquier momento de día o noche si está pensando a quitarle tu propia vida. Self-deletion is linked to mental disorders, particularly depression and alcohol use disorders. And the strongest risk for self-deletion is previous attempts. The Suicide Prevention Resource Center defines risk and protective factors and warning signs. Risk factors. They are characterized that make it more likely that an individual would consider an attempt to die by self-deletion. Warning signs indicate an immediate risk of self-deletion. Protective factors are characteristics that make it less likely for individuals that will consider attempt or die by self-deletion. Now here are the risk factors, and these are the things, and we all need to pay attention. Okay, so here are the risk factors. Previous self-deletion attempts. Again, previous self-deletion attempts. A history of self-deletion in the family, meaning that there are members of your immediate family that have taken their own life. Substance use, whether it be alcohol or chemical or drugs. Mood disorders, such as depression, bipolar disease. Access to lethal means, for example, keeping firearms in the home or having access to unsecured prescription medications. Losses and other events, for example, the breakup of a relationship or a death, academic failure, legal difficulty, financial difficulties. History of trauma or abuse, bullying, chronic physical illness, including chronic pain, exposure to the self deletion behavior of others, social isolation, historical trauma, stigma associating with seeking help. Now, let me just focus on the last one, okay? Because unfortunately, there is a there is a lot of shame involved by anyone seeking um, assistance due to a mental health issue, particularly if you are male, and particularly if you are part of the generation. Because we was taught foolishly that if we acknowledge that we have a mental health issue or acknowledge that we need help from a mental health professional, that was a sign that we were insane. And this is particularly true in the Latino community and in the African American community. So, and of course, men are more likely than women to self delete because men are taught not to cry, men are taught to be stoic, men are taught to, you know, suck it up, so to speak. In some cases, a recent stressor or sudden catastrophic event, failure can leave person feeling desperate, unable to see a way out, and become a tipping point toward self-deletion. A CDC report highlights the complexity of self-deletion. While mental health condition may be a contributing factor for many people, many factors contribute to self-deletion among people with and without mental health conditions. A relationship problem was the top factor contributing to self-deletion, followed by crisis in the past or upcoming 2 weeks prominent substance abuse. About 54% of the people who died by self-deletion did not have a known mental health condition, according to the CDC. However, many of them may have been dealing with mental health challenges that may not have been diagnosed or known to those around them. So let me just share with you the warning signs. Often talking or writing about death, dying, or self-deletion. Making comments about being hopeless, helpless, or worthless. Expressions of having no reason to live, no sense of purpose in life, saying things like, it would be better if I wasn't here, or I want out. Increased alcohol and or drug use. Withdrawal from friends, family, and community. Reckless behavior or more risky activities seemingly without thinking. Dramatic mood changes, talking about feeling trapped or being a burden to others. Now, here are protected factors. Contract with providers such as follow-up phone calls from healthcare professionals. Effective mental health care. Easy access to variety of clinical interventions. Feelings of strong connections to individual, family, community, and social institutions. Strong sense of cultural identity, problem solving, and conflict resolution skills. The CDC recommends a comprehensive public health approach to self-deletion prevention, and it identifies several strategies that and, that states and communities can undertake, including such measures as teaching coping and problem-solving skills to help people manage challenges, expanding options of temporary assistance for those in need, and connecting people at risk to effective and coordinated mental and physical health care. Now, here's the things that you can do. Now, the 988 Suicide Crisis and Lifeline has developed 5 steps to help support a loved one that may be experiencing self deletion thoughts. Ask someone you're concerned about if they're thinking about self deletion. Study shows by asking someone if they're having thoughts of self deletion does not increase the likelihood of completed self deletion, nor does it increase self deletion thoughts. Be there for them. This could be by phone or in person. Keep them safe. Reduce the access to lethal means for those at risk. Help them connect with ongoing support. Follow up, giving a call or visit. Send a text or an email to let them know that you are still present. And of course, if you need help yourself or someone else, contact the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by calling or texting 988. You can also chat online at 988lifeline.org. Now, the following steps are helping someone with emotional pain. Ask, are you thinking about killing yourself? Keep them safe. Reduce access to lethal items or places. Be there. Listen carefully and acknowledge their feelings. Help them connect. Call or text the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline number 988. Stay connected. Follow up and stay in touch after a crisis. And I'm going to share another one. Don't be judgmental. Don't tell them to snap out of it. When you do that, you're basically you are taking away the motivation that they need in order to reach out. And we're going to park it here. So as you can see here, that just gives you an idea um, what these people are thinking about, what these people are experiencing. Okay, and it is a difficult topic to discuss, and it's such a difficult topic to share. Okay, because unfortunately there is a great deal of stigma attached to anyone that acknowledges that they have a mental health issue and that they need help. As a person that actually thought about self deletion, I'm glad that I actually got the help I needed, or else I would not be here sharing this information with you. Now, what I'm gonna do? Okay, first of all, let me just check and see if there's anyone. Uh, see, just give me a moment. Just really, because I'm gonna share. Okay, I'm gonna share another article, and then I'm going to share some resources. Okay. Um, just bear with me. I'm just gonna share my screen again. So let me just repeat what is the definition of suicide. Now, for those who are just watching in, basically, we're talking about the causes of self deletion and how we can deal with it. This case, I'm just going to use the term suicide. Suicide is when people harm themselves with the intent of ending their lives and they die as a result. A suicide attempt is when people harm themselves with the intent of ending their life, but they may not die. People of all backgrounds can be at risk. This type of behavior is complex and there's no single cause. And so that's just, so I'm going to, so now we're going to park it here. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to share with you, hello, hello. Okay. Now I'm going to share with you some resources um, as far as mental health issues. Of course, is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, and the number to dial it's free. 988. You can either call or you can send a text. There's also another number, which is the Lifeline number, and the telephone number is 1-800 273 8255. That's 1-800 273 8255. Now, if you are residing in the state of Texas, you can call 211 and ask for the LMHA in your area. Again, in Texas, you can dial 211 and ask for the LMHA in your area. If you are a part of the LGBTQ plus community, You can call the Trevor Lifeline, and it's toll free, and the telephone number is area code 866 488 7386. Again, if you are a member of the LGBTQ plus community and you're having these thoughts, you can dial 866 488 7386. Of course, you can also dial 911. Now, in the state of Georgia, okay, you can call the Georgia Crisis and Access Line, and the telephone number is 1 800 725 4225. Let me repeat that. If you are in the state of Georgia and if you're thinking of taking your own life, please call the Georgia Crisis and Access Line. And the telephone number is 1 800 715 4225. If you are in the state of Indiana, please text 7411741. Again, in the state of Indiana, text 7411741. If you reside in New York City, there are two numbers which you can call for mental health services if you're having these thoughts, which is Healthy Minds NYC. The telephone number is 929 399 7120. Again, that's Healthy Minds NYC, 929 399 7120. And of course, New York City Well, or NYC Well. And the telephone number is 1 800, well, I'm sorry, 188 NYC Well. That's 1 888 NYC Well. Okay. Now, these are resources where you can go when you can call. Okay. And if you are honestly, truly thinking about taking your own life, please, and I'm begging you, please think about it. And if you do need mental health, please contact these organizations. Okay. Just give me a moment. I think I'm going. Let's see. Now I'm going to share with you another image. Just give me a moment. Okay. So this is the 988 Lifeline website. If you need to talk, the 988 Lifeline is here. Let me just read to you the statement. Oh, sorry. At the 988 Suicide Crisis Lifeline, we understand that life challenges can be difficult, whether you're facing mental health struggles, emotional distress, alcohol or drug use, or just need someone to talk to. Our caring counselors are here for you. You are not alone. So, so you can call, you can text, or you can chat. And there's even a link to those who are hearing impaired. Okay? And the wonderful part is about this service that you can call in any time of the day and night, all 365 days out of the year. Using the lifeline, when you call, text, or chat, the 998 lifeline is your conversation. Your conversation is confidential. The 998 lifeline provides you with judgment-free care, connecting with someone that can help save your life. Now, here's some steps. First step. First, you hear a message that gives you a service selection opting for including veterans, press 1, Spanish language, press 2, or your local 988 Lifeline contact center. Step 2. We will play some hold music while we're connected to a live counselor. Step 3. A counselor will say hello and introduce themselves. Your skilled counselor will ask you if you are safe. Step 4. After they ask about your safety, your counselor will listen to you, understand how your problem is affecting you, provide you with support, and share any resources that may be helpful. Now, if you decide to text, okay, steps are a little different. When you send a text to 988, you will be given the option to connect with a live counselor from the main 988 Lifeline or our Spanish language text ayuda and the information how to text the Veterans Crisis Line at 838-255. Second step, when you text next, you'll be accepting of terms of service. Step 3, then you will be asked to complete a brief survey to help your council understand how they can best support you. Text 4, you will receive a wait message with a survey link to optional questions while we connect you with a counselor. Step 5, your counselor will say hello and introduce themselves. Your secret counselor will ask you if you are safe. And step 6, when they ask about the safety, they will be calm and comforting, listening to you and provide support. They may also share helpful resources. Now, if you're chatting with them, it's part of a 5-step process. At Clicking chat, a new window with a brief survey will open. The survey will help our live counselors understand how to best support you and take less than 5 minutes to complete. Step 2, when you click start a chat, you are accepting our terms of service. Step 3, you will see a message to indicate that you're connected to a live counselor. Step 4, when you're connected, a counselor will say hello and introduce themselves. Your skilled counselor will ask you if you are safe. And step 5, after they ask about your safety, they will be calm and confident, listen to you, and provide you support. They may share helpful resources. And we're going to park it here. Okay. So one thing we have to bear in mind that here on this platform, we don't just discuss the issue, we also discuss solutions. Okay. Okay. Because as we've seen before, almost 50,000 people have taken their own lives. Now just think about it. 49,000 people a year have taken their own lives. That's someone's father, mother, sibling, spouse, nephew, niece, cousin, grandparent, or friend. And every year, 1.7 million people attempt to take their own lives. That's a scary. I mean, that's the size of a large city, and that's the size of some of our states. So this is a serious issue. Okay, but as I illustrated, there are things that we need to be aware of, and there are resources that are available for those individuals who find themselves in a situation when they are seriously thinking about taking their own lives. This is not a joke, folks. Now, I've shared previously that I've had bouts of depression 3 times. And 3 times I actually thought about taking my own life. Now, actually, through prayer and getting mental health services that I needed, um, I was delivered. Um, I never actually tried to take my own life, but I had the thoughts. Now, this is where we need to be very understanding, we need to be patient, and we need not to be judgmental regarding someone that's having these thoughts. But you know what's the saddest part? That these individuals that truly believe that things would be better if they were not around. And what's the scariest part? That once they make the decision to take their own lives, and then they have like this. calmness, meaning that they finally made a decision and they're going to go ahead and take their own lives. And let me tell you something. When you do take your own life, first of all, you create a lot of hurt, okay? And your loved ones are filled with grief, partly because they did not see the signs, partly because they might have think they might have contributed with a harsh word or to simply tell the person to snap out of it or, you know, just to grow up or just buck it up, okay? And let me tell you something. When you entered into the senior years, when you're in your 70s, that could be a lonely time for an elderly person because when a person reaches their 70s, many of their loved ones have passed away, or they become isolated or from their loved ones, or they become estranged. As you get older, more and more of your friends pass away, more and more of your friends pass away, or they move, or you lost contact completely. And for the elderly, the last few years can be lonely years. It could be sad years, particularly if they're dealing with mental health issues or physical issues like cancer or any disease that has no cure. So just picture yourself. You are in your 70s or 80s and you're dealing with terminal cancer or you have a or you have some sort of major health concern, which unfortunately there's no healing and you're not going to get better. As you get older, the thought of taking your own life becomes stronger. And also there's the feeling of guilt because you're no longer at the stage when you can take care of yourself, when other people have to look after you. And then people see themselves as a burden. And they think, well, if they are no longer around, then they won't be a burden to other people. And that's just, and that's very sad when you think about it. The reality is this: as we get older and we have more limitations regarding what we're able to do, the roles are reversed. And instead of we're taking care of ourselves, then our children have to take care of ourselves. So basically, the children become the responsible adult, and we become the ones that need the attention. And that could be a difficult, humbling experience. If you're the type of person used to look after yourself, and particularly if you're dealing with ailments where there's no cure, okay, or when you're dealing with a situation where you need assistance to bathe, you need assistance um, to dress yourself, you need assistance to feed yourself, you need assistance, whenever you soil yourself. That could be a extremely humbling experience for a person in their 80s or 90s, or anyone whose mental health or physical health has declined significantly. And it is very, you know, it's something that many of us do not understand. Um, in the last few years of the life of my mother, um, I saw how slowly but surely my mother was not able to do things on her own. She needed assistance to cook. She needed assistance to bathe. She needed assistance to um, amputate. And then when my mother had her stroke, she entered into a vegetative state where she could no longer bathe herself, dress herself, feed herself. It was a difficult experience for me to see my mother in that state. And I can understand why people who their health has declined in extreme that they think about taking their own lives. But one thing we have to understand that all life is sacred. Now, I'm not going to judge people if they think, it's best, there's if they are not physically present. And of course, my mother had a do not resuscitate order, meaning that if she entered into a vegetative state, that she was be allowed to just die in peace. Um, Good evening, Irby. Happy birthday to you. Tonight's topic is your life has meaning. So what we're doing, we're talking about the issues of people who think about taking their own lives. I I just discussed um, many of the reasons why people do that, and also um, gave some things for people to consider. You're quite welcome. Happy birthday. Um, in case they either know someone who thought about taking their own lives or they themselves have those thoughts. It's not an easy topic to discuss, and I know that people would prefer not to discuss it. But these are things that we need to discuss because, as I show by the statistical data, every year 49,000 people have taken their own lives, and 1.7 million people actually tried to take their own lives. So that's the reason why we are discussing that topic. Now, if anyone wants to hit the link and just to talk about the topic, they can do so. Okay. Now, I get it. This is not an easy topic to discuss, but it's something that needs to be discussed. And that's, you know what? And that's the sad part. With some of those people, they're thinking about that because they're being bullied. Okay. And I think among those groups that are in greatest risk of taking their own lives are teenagers and elderly people. That is people over the age of 75. Teenagers because don't have the coping mechanisms to help deal with that, and the elderly because the fact of the matter is, many of them have significant health issues. Some of them are dealing with diseases where there's no cure, and they are alone because they have lost loved ones, they have lost friends, and unfortunately, they become alienated by friends and loved ones, which is why I always state, particularly for those who are estranged from their own parents or loved ones, if you can't do everything that you can to try to be reconciled with these people, because once they're gone, that's it. There is no opportunity for reconciliation once that person passes away. And the fact of the matter, as I get older, more and more of my family who have passed away. In my lifetime, I have lost both of my parents, four of my siblings, and two of my nephews. Out of a family of 10, four remain. I have one sibling that's going to be 65 in November. I'm going to be 63 in October. I have a sibling that will become 60 at December, and a final sibling which will be 52 in December. So all four of us are getting old. And I remember when my mother passed away, one thing I said to my nephews and nieces, when the last one of us of my immediate family is left, treat that person as gold, okay? Because once we're gone, that's it. And of course, I always believe, do not assume that tomorrow is promised to anybody because we don't know. So again, the link it's been there is there in the chat in case anyone wants to hop on and opine. Otherwise, I will stop wrap this up. And of course, this is a personal nature with the topic with me because I have had thoughts of taking my own life, and I'm glad I'm still here. So now, tomorrow's topic will be dealing with the haters. Okay, that's something we all got to deal with. Okay, because we have people that what they just they cannot say a positive thing about us. Um, they love to create a false narrative. So tomorrow I'm going to be discussing how to deal with the haters. Okay, let me just state, and I've stated before, and I'm going to keep stating it. You cannot control what other people say or do. You control what is your response. Haters are going to say whatever they wish to try to elicit a response. Okay. Because what happens is you respond, and then they're going to respond to your response, and then it goes back and forth, and it never ends. And I've seen it. I've seen people go back and forth because they have to have the final word. And I got news for you folks. You don't always have to have the final word. And the best way to deal with such people who cast dispersions, don't say anything else. Let them act. Let them act foolish. So, being with that being said, um, I would encourage anyone to share this and please share the information with your loved ones, particularly those loved ones that are actually struggling, that actually are thinking about taking their own lives. And let me just say this. If you're thinking about taking your own life, don't. Your life is too important. You're too important to yourself and you're too important to God. And whatever is going on in your life, there is a solution. Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna wrap this up, meaning that no one's gonna join me. And of course the playback gang, do your own thing, leave whatever comments that you wish, and please be respectable. Any nasty comments will be deleted. And I do appreciate all those who watch this live or and all who will watch this on the playback. So I'm going to end this stream the same way that I always end. We must do everything possible to avoid the presence of the mentally and intellectually challenged, because if we fail to do so, we would be infected by the stupidity and massive insanity. This has been another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron, saying good night, take care, stay blessed, and peace.